Hello friends, Robert Hamm here with Robert Hamm Photography. Today we are continuing our conversation of the TL70 provided to me for review by MiNT camera. I'm having an excellent time here with this camera, and today on roll 6, as I'm affectionately calling the cartridges, these 10 shots were to be taken here at Red Wing Park. Now I'm sitting in a little play area letting the kids relax in some shade, and that was the whole idea of today. Today's roll was all about shade, direct and indirect shade, and I wanted to photograph in a very specific place. I wanted to photograph at the Mitsuyaki Garden here in Virginia Beach. It's at Red Wing Park and it's beautiful, and it was donated to Virginia Beach about 20 years ago, maybe 25, by our sister city in the global partnership. It's of Mitsuyaki, Japan. Now, I may not be saying the name properly and I apologize. However, it's a beautiful Zen-styled garden with cherry trees and Japanese maple and cypress and a waterfall, a reflection pool, even a Zen sand thing. I've never used it, but I see people here doing yoga, and they do their long lines and they make these designs. It's very beautiful. There's even a small pagoda. There's a couple of little shrines, and it's gorgeous. Now, I'm very appreciative to have that in the city I live in. How cool is that? I've got something very special. So I often go up here to play guitar. I think it's beautiful because it's so serene, and I enjoy it. But I also like to photograph up here. And when I photograph using Instax cameras up here, specifically the Mini 90, I have to bring along additional flash because it's a very dark garden because of all the dense foliage. It's much more dark than it is right here. So we have two different types of shade there, and I thought, what a great way to test out this big, beautiful f5.6 lens that's on this camera. Now, MiNT camera made this lens to be 3 elements, aspherical, with some coatings on there, and it has produced an image that comes out of this lens that is very warm. So the blues that you will get from shadows can very easily be corrected with the warmth in this lens, and that's important. Now, of course, there's a lot that goes into the design of that, but what it practically means for me is that I don't need to bring out an additional flash or use correct orange optics on the flash in order to make the actual color come out more daylight balanced. Most of the time when I'm shooting with Instax cameras, the aperture range is so small that when we shoot in shadows, things do go to the blue range. Here, we can keep it open wide enough that we should be able to maintain the orange and the yellow in the light, which is what I want. Makes the pictures look nicer. And guess what? That's exactly what happened. Today, in order to help me with the metering problem that I've been trying to figure out, and problem's not actually the right word for it, it's something I'm trying to figure out how the camera meters. I believe it meters a matrix metering the entire scene. I don't think that there's a spot, and I think it's shadow weighted. That's what my hypothesis is. Today, I think I proved that, along with all the other data. And that's because I was shooting in the shadow, but I also used a light meter, an app that I've got on my phone, which I use and trust very much when I'm doing my film photography. And I might encounter a very difficult lighting situation. And it was telling me that I should be good with using the camera in a very direct shade, indirect shade, mixed lighting condition. And guess what? The results prove itself. Now, I'm gonna wait to give you the full analysis to the roll review, but I'm gonna share with you a couple of images real quick to tell you what I'm talking about and how it worked out practically. This image right here was my very first image, f5.6 with negative exposure compensation. That was a good image to have because guess what? This is a mixed lighting condition. Look at how their faces have light rays popping on them, but they also have shadow on them at the same time. Look how the back is backlit. So we were able to actually get a very beautifully exposed image right there. I like it, and nice focus. This image is one that I've tried several times with the Mini 90, and I can't get unless I use external flash with it because mixed lighting like this is very difficult when you have an aperture that you can't open up wide enough to do what you need it to do. And let me explain that one real step. Let me just take you on a little further of a journey. When you're in a mixed lighting condition, you're either gonna expose for the shadows or you're gonna expose for the highlights. You're gonna do that anytime, but when you're on a mixed lighting condition like this, it's that much more important. The camera automatically wants to expose for the shadows. So that means it's going to try to brighten up, and it's gonna use the slower shutter speed in this condition. The reason that it's important not to do that is because it will completely blow out the highlights. It will automatically blow them out. However, if we tell it to use at least one stop shorter of a shutter speed, meaning that it would underexpose the shadows, we will then have our highlights nicely exposed. But here you see that they both are exposed well. Why is that? Well, there is a bit of light spill and residual light, that's refracted light that bounces off of stuff. So even when we tell the shadows to close down and use a faster shutter speed, that bright light is still illuminating the scene, not directly, but indirectly. So we're able to get a very nicely metered image right here. The camera did a fantastic job. Continuing on along, one other thing. This is the shot I wanted to get next. Notice, beautiful, we're in direct shade, very, very dark in there, and I'm using 5.6 with no exposure compensation. But when I went in there, even after metering it, the first shot I took, I forgot to change my negative exposure compensation. So once again, pro tip, this camera, the great part about this camera is it forces you to slow down. So you get on a roll with a couple good shots, and then you might get one that's a little bit different than what you expected. It's not that the camera's done something different, it's that we need to slow down. We need to be creative, and that's what I like about it. I like about it more than anything else because it continues to challenge me, and it rewards my efforts. It rewards your efforts as well. That's very true. One last shot, I'm gonna tell you this quick story. I know I've got these, but sharing this information is important because we've got something powerful here that is enjoyable, and if you want to make memories, this is one great way to do it. I experimented on roll 3 with light flares and some vignetting, and if you haven't seen the roll 3 yet, that's fine. However, I wanted to get some lens flares. So my son Robert climbed up one of the Japanese maples and hung down like a monkey, but my son Iro ran over to give him a hug because that's how he is. And something beautiful happened. I had to take a picture quickly, and this is what resulted. My son's faces, the part of their bodies that were facing me, was in direct shadow, very dark, so I used f5.6. However, the backlight of the canopy was much brighter in comparison. Shooting upwards allowed me to get a very slight lens flare, which I wanted to get, but also use the skylight of the canopy as a natural hair light. How beautiful is that picture? This image right here is indicative of a lens that is awesome because it shows us that shooting into a bright backlit subject, we are still able to get contrast, we're still able to get sharpness, we're still able to get a positive focus and warmth on a shadow subject. That's awesome. This could have been completely blown out, but it's not. And we have that beautiful highlight that we get with rim lighting. This would be an example of some high key work. Not completely high key, but how cool is that? Anyways, I'm gonna save the rest for the lens, for the roll review, because I could talk about this camera all day. That's how much I believe in it. I absolutely am having a great time with it. I wanna thank you guys for watching. I would like for you to thank MiNT. Help me show support. Leave a little comment. Thanks down below. Thanks to MiNT. And I wanna bring you some more on the flip side. I wanna remind you to keep watching. I wanna thank you for watching, like, and subscribe. And I will catch you on the flip side.